From Delmonico Farm in New York, here's Max Tucci. Welcome to his table.
Hey, welcome back to another night of Welcome to My Table with Max Tucci. I'm your host, Max Tucci. Here we are in the barn. The reality is that I love that you're joining me at my table tonight. We've got a great guest. We have become friends in such a short amount of time, okay? Like literally, she is my you better lay low girl. We both share the same IACP, which is the International Association of Culinary Professionals Trailblazer Awards. Like, she is no joke. I love this woman. Like, really, when I tell you love, my love is so thick and deep for her because there is no one more real in this industry, more hardworking, more loving, more supportive, more encouraging. She is not only a chef of two of my favorite restaurants in New York, she's a trailblazer. She's been a trailblazer. She's going to be a cookbook author. She's got her cookbook coming out, and she's an inspiration. She has become a dear friend. You all love her. My friend, the one and only, Chef Ayesha. Hey, Chef.
Hey, what's going on?
Girl, you had a long day, I'm sure, right? Every day's a long day.
Always all good. I feel like life resets itself when I see you. You energize
you know what?
me. I swear, even from afar.
You energize me from near, from afar, and wherever you are. I see your labubu. Suzanne, you're going to have to go up to my room and get my labubu because there's a whole labubu story. For real. Suzanne, can you go upstairs in my closet? I have this big wardrobe, like Lion the Witch in the wardrobe. Open it up. Connected to my little Louis satchel is a little labubu that we're going to get into that story with Chef Ayesha because that is one of my favorite forever stories.
I love it, Max. This is what the world needs, though. I'm being honest with you. Like, I personally don't want to share any more of you because you have dropped like such soulful, knowledgeable nuggets in my life that I feel like even sometimes when I call you on the way to work and I'm like telling you a story, there'll be like one thing that you say to me that kind of like changes the perspective. And I think that your podcast is so needed because you're not on here trying to just talk about yourself, obviously your legacy of your restaurants. You really want to know about people, and you always, like, you know, we talk about teams, like you surround yourself with good people too, so you understand what that means.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you for that. And you know, we have a very interesting the way we met was interesting, but we got a whole show in front of us. So for those tuning in today, tonight, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because now you know we're going to be all over. But welcome to my table. Ayesha's my guest tonight. If I don't call her Chef Ayesha, you got to, you know, just forgive the formalities because Ayesha is a friend.
Exactly.
and you know, but I was taught to always say, if you have a chef title, it's like a doctor title. You got to use it.
Not
But,
in this case. We're two friends shooting the
That's
real
right.
one, so please.
We shared a love quickly because you're a Brooklyn girl. And, you know, my mom grew up in Brooklyn, Bay Ridge High.
Hey, Rich, hi.
For those that don't know, now you know.
There you know.
But
Oh
look
my
at
God, we got
look,
the ring to prove it.
we got the, you know, I always got the receipts, Ayesha. That's one thing that people need to realize. You know, if I say Abraham Lincoln dined at the restaurant, we got the receipts. Mark
ain't
Twain, we got
kidding.
the receipts. Bay Ridge High, we got the receipts.
We have it.
But so, you know, you're a Brooklyn girl, but I love ancestry. I love ethnicities. I love everything. And you have like two of like incredible, you have Italian roots, you have Indonesian roots, and then you're like a Brooklyn girl. Look, here comes Suzanne, all with the bag, with the sable, just to prove that we got the receipts of the Labubu.
There you go. There's our
Hey,
matching
Labubuing. All right, I'm gonna take Labubu. Labubu's gonna chill with us for the show because that's Ayesha and I will get into that
We have to
story.
tell the story on how we got
We're
here.
going to tell the story. But before we tell the story, let's talk about your family, the roots, and how, like, Brooklyn, you're a Brooklyn girl. So tell me
Born
about your
and
mom,
raised.
your dad, and your childhood.
Of course.
Let's go to the genesis of Ayesha.
All right. So I'm born and raised, and I still live in Gravesend. Believe it or not, I'm born and raised and live in an 11-block radius and haven't moved from there my entire life, which is really important to say because not many people kind of still live where they were born, you know?
Right.
My parents...
That's so true.
My mother's Italian, my dad's Indonesian, and they actually met at a restaurant. My mother was playing tennis, and her tennis partner was Indonesian. He said, "I got a friend, and I want to introduce you." So my mother goes there, and I wouldn't say it was love at first sight. I think there was some wooing going on, and my
There was
mother.
chemistry at first sight.
It was chemistry. There you go. But my mother actually knew that it wasn't going to be an easy road if the chemistry continued, because my grandmother was first generation Italian, and
Wow.
you really like didn't marry outside of your culture at that point.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Especially Italian and in
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
And that was a big deal for obviously them. But somehow it worked out, and my brother and I were born, and I grew up in like just an amazing household. You know, my dad was like one of the only people that for the first, I would say 12, 13 years of our life, we had family friends that came from Indonesia, but his family really lived there. So we would go like almost every other year if we could.
Really?
Yeah. And
Oh, wait, so I didn't know this. So you like grew up traveling to Indonesia.
yep. In the
So
summer.
your roots are really deep there.
Yeah. But to be honest with
Wow.
you, they haven't been in a really long time. I think the
Okay.
last time, like, I was very young the last time we went there. Maybe it was like 8.
Wow.
And what was happening is that my father was like establishing himself here, and people now then wanted to come, and they would stay with us in our house, which was really nice. But I grew up in like a very loving, I would say that even though my father was Italian, Indonesian, he adapted the Italian like big family
Yeah. How can
style.
you not?
Right?
Especially with your mom.
Forget it. Food flying all around the table.
Yup.
I grew up in Gravesend where I live, which was a very predominantly Italian neighborhood. I mean, everybody on the block was not only like they would be your neighbors, but you would start calling them your cousins because you would see them every day.
Everybody's your cousin.
Everybody's
in
your
Brooklyn.
cousin. And I don't know, it kind of just always makes me smile when I think about my childhood and growing up.
Yeah.
It was a very tight-knit group. My 3 best friends, I mean, of course you've met them, but one of them that intimately, Danielle.
Bay
I know
Ridge
her
High.
since 5 years old, and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
Growing up, we've had similar. I mean, you had an Italian mother, have an Italian mother. I had an Italian father, and cooking was a big thing. And I know your mom was a huge inspiration, but your dad was also a professional chef.
Yep. So my
Wow.
dad came here, he kind of like, like most immigrants, they don't really have a place of like what job they're gonna, and they come at a young age. My dad was,
Yeah, of course.
in his, he was 17 when he came here, and someone said like I have a restaurant, and there was some Indonesian people in there, and my father just went, and he didn't know anything, and he started to learn how to cook, and I would say. My father did it as a job. He worked in the restaurant a little bit, and then he learned to cook like professionally. He used to be on ships that transported liquid natural gas from America to Asian countries. So he was actually classically trained by French chefs, because when you're on those
Wow.
ships, you have to cook. It's almost all day for like it's a huge crew. So I would say like he loved to cook for his family, but I don't know
Yeah.
that he loved to cook as a job. He
No,
didn't see it,
which is a lot unlike you, because you not only is it a passion, but it's a profession for you. It's interesting because Ciro Macchioni from the Cirque, he worked on a ship, on a cruise ship. So I think also like your father and Tony May, like men who worked on these big vessels, they just understand a difference of hospitality and also of a strict ethic of cooking. Because when you're on a ship, you're in tight quarters. Your customers can't leave. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
they're with you for a week. So there's this really tight knit community on these boats. And so now let's talk about your life. For me, you're this kaleidoscope, right? And every time I turn it, there's something new about you, right? You're a devoted friend. You're fearless. You are like incredible. You like run the city. You're the badass bitch that got her own parking space at the restaurant. That's like the biggest feather in the cap.
That's when you know you made it.
I don't even have a parking space. I do, but I always get a ticket. But so let's go back to you go to college, right? And I heard that you went to study law.
Yep.
Thank God you didn't finish that.
You imagine?
Oh no. I mean, yeah, you would be let me tell you. If I needed a lawyer, you would be that boss bitch that would roll up and be like, see, she's got a little boo-boo. That's my lawyer.
You know it. I'll tell you the genesis of that story.
Yeah, tell me.
My brother and I are 4 years apart, and
Okay.
I think I was kind of like in the 3rd grade, and my mother was late to pick me up from the bus. I went to Catholic school, and the principal, who was the sister, called my mother.
What was her name?
Sister Crowley.
Yeah, of course. Sister
Sister Mary
Crowley.
Crowley, yeah.
Yes, it was.
Told my mother, and she said, "We know that Ayesha could walk and talk herself out of anything. That
Hmm.
kid can sell sand in the beach and
Right.
snow to a snowman, but you
Uh-huh.
have to be on time to pick her up." So when I came home that day. My mother was like, "Oh, your principal says that you're going to be." My mother's interpretation of that was that I was going to be a lawyer, and I thought that was like kind of so funny. And I was like, "Well, what?" For Halloween that year, like I dressed up like a lawyer. They got me a little suit. I had a mini briefcase, and
No.
I was like walking around in my classroom going, "Objection, objection!" And it just kind of like the more you watch movies on TV and sensationalize that life, I was like, this like kind of makes sense for me,
Right.
So I didn't know that I had my heart set on it or passion. It was kind of like that's what I was going to do, and I was cool with it.
Okay.
Um, but it really all changed. So I moved out when I was 19,
Hmm.
and I grew up in this house where food was very much a focal point. Like we
Hmm.
would talk about what we were having for lunch the following day while we were eating lunch that day, if you will.
Hmm.
And I moved out and I didn't know how to cook anything. And I was like surprised by that because I was a great eater. I used to set and unset the table, but nowhere was I helping out at any, point. I wasn't like peeling carrots. My parents weren't like embracing that in
Wow.
the kitchen. And I said, what the hell am I going to do? Because it's a problem when you're hungry, you don't know how to cook, right?
Hmm.
So I turned Lydia Bastianich on, and she was on television, and I had watched her,
So how old are you at this time?
at 19. I was
Okay.
19. And I'm watching her, and she made risotto stuffed tomatoes. And at the time, I
Mm.
taped it. It was like on a VHS tape. Remember those?
Oh, of course.
The next day, that half an hour episode, it took me 2.5 hours to make those risotto stuffed tomatoes. I remember having
Okay.
Michael Bublé on, and I was drinking like a $30 Chianti Classico, which I thought was like woo,
Hey.
I was fancy AF, if you will.
Uh-huh.
And there was a connection with food, and that was instantaneous. That
Hmm.
I had to dig deeper in that relationship because I knew nothing
Yeah.
about it. So
So
that was
Lydia sparked that. She ignited that.
she did. She definitely
She
did.
did. She and Tony May were, I mean, obviously, as you know, just like
Yeah.
hand in hand, and Marissa May. And it's going to be hard for us to go through shows and not talk about these people. So Tony May owned San Domenico restaurant in New York. Marissa, his daughter, went on to own SD26. Tony May's first gig was at Delmonico's. But Lydia and Tony, I mean, Lydia was like, your North Star, wasn't she?
Yeah, yeah. And I met Tony plenty of times. Like he would come
Yeah.
into Philadelphia, and I remember
Oh, yeah, all the time.
looking eating at SD26. And back in the day, when you talk about the New York restaurant scene, it wasn't now. Like when if you and I right now were going to go through restaurant tours, we would
Yeah.
name hundreds of people. But if
Right.
you go back 40 years ago, or 30 years ago, even, like there
Yeah.
was a handful of people that really ran the city. And, and I know that a lot of the great ones came out of Delmonico's, which,
Yeah.
is a super legacy for that. But when you think about it, she was really a pioneer of bringing, Italian cuisine to America
Hmm.
and
Absolutely.
explaining, she later adapted understanding Italian American cuisine, but she really tried to hold truth. She was from Northern
Yeah,
Italy,
yeah.
Emilia Romagna, and trying to parlay those recipes. This chef at Felidia, where I worked,
Hmm.
he was Sicilian. So I think like it was well rounded when it represented the regions. But when you
Hmm.
talk about Italian cuisine, I think she was, at the forefront.
She was at the forefront. So she inspired you to go to cooking school, huh?
She did because that day I realized that there was something I was connected to. So I went
Wait,
to
wait. Let's pause there.
firm.
What
Yep.
do you think that connection was? Was it the food? Was it the ability to like prepare, create? What was it that really was like, shit, this is it?
Yeah, I think it was the entire like 360 package. It was that like I saw something, I
Hmm.
recreated it, right,
Hmm.
step by step, and
Hmm.
altering it in the moment. Someone tells you to add salt, like you don't know what that means until you start
Right,
to taste
right.
it, right? And then you have this outcome, if you will, kind of like an artist who's like working on a sculpture. Only this is instantaneous, right? I mean,
Hmm.
for me, it took 2 hours to make this dish, but when I bit into it, I was like oohing and awing and saying like I created this and there was something in my soul that was like ignited. Like it was like kind of
Hmm.
a first love situation. Like you don't know what's happening. There's
Hmm.
tingling sensations going on.
Hmm.
And I was just, I was really enthralled with it. So at the time I was working at a law firm from 9 to 5.
You were at the law firm.
I was working there. Yep. And I went in and I said to my boss at the time, I said, I think I need a day off. And he said, what's going on? I said, I just got to think about some things. And he said, all right, go ahead. You sure you're good? I said, yeah. So I went home and I wrote on a piece of paper. They tell you, write down, things that you want to do for your life, right? Things that you love. What are the three things that you love? Because your passion and your job should never be like kind of a project. It should be something that you pursue. So in this order, I wrote music, food or cooking, and music. I said that again, and diamonds. And diamonds.
Diamonds are
I love
forever.
diamonds, right? So before I committed to like, this culinary school thing, I kind of like I went to the New York gemology school the next day and I just asked them like, how do you study diamonds? And the woman was like, girl, you guys to go with gems first. And I was like, forget it. And then when I thought about music, like what I loved, I wanted to be like Tiesto, like a huge DJ in Vegas. And I still think that could happen, by the way.
Of course
And
it
then,
can.
as I went to the Institute of Culinary Education, I walked right in and I met this woman. Her name is Linda Simon. And I talked to her and I told her my story about what happened with Lydia, in the thing. And she said, why don't we take a walk through the school? So I said, okay. And we walked and it was kind of like the ghost of Christmas past, where you're like looking into the windows of like people's like, and I saw this, and they were all different age groups and they were all making different things. And I was like, this is like really exciting. So we sat down, we spoke about it for a minute, and she was like, this is how much it's going to cost. And I was like, well, I don't know where I'm getting that from. And I called my mother, and I was like, I need you to sign this loan paper. And she was like, get your ass home before I sign anything. And I just said to her, I was like, listen, I'm going to keep my job. I'm going to work from 9 to 5, and then I'm going to go to cooking school at night. And she was like, well, what happened to the law school thing? And I was like, we'll defer it for a year, and I'll go back. But in the meanwhile, I'll at least have some like life skills about like learning how to cook. And I don't know how really I convinced her, because she was not one. I guess I should have been a lawyer, you see. She's not one to be convinced.
No, you cannot pull the wool over her eyes.
No, not at all. I mean,
Not
she
at
waited
all.
for that payment every single week. Even if it was 25 cents, she didn't care. And that's really how, it gets started. I was just enthralled by it from day one. I would watch her, Lydia, incessantly. I'd eaten it for Lydia over a dozen times. I saved my small scuttles of whatever I made, and we'd always have, my birthday there or something. And I remember meeting her and being speechless. And then kind of like in your third mod, like you have to go to a restaurant and stage for the day, which, means that you have to like work there for free, obviously. And I remember being there, and it was kind of like the first time like someone experienced the ballet. I was just like, I was floating on air.
Took your breath away.
It really did. It was like this unspoken symphony in the kitchen, and watching the chef interact with the cooks, this gorgeous food come out, and he was just like, he had such a way about him when he was cooking or plating that it was like you could see that it was like sheer love and passion like in that moment. And I was just like, this is like, I need to be I was so dialed into it. It was going to be
No, you have all of that in you. What I found most fascinating about you, and I've been at Chouquette numerous times, you have brought a flavor to the city that is your fingerprint. Like when I judged Bobby Flay, I didn't know you were there. But I could taste, there was a flavor that I knew. And obviously I didn't eat at Chouquette. That was like probably I only ate there twice. But then when I had that, I was like, there's like, you can put together flavor, the understanding of flavor. It's different. Like, okay, you've had a huge, background in the culinary industry. You've been mentored by great people. But you have an art of putting flavor together. Where did that come from?
Max, I think it's all about like stepping stones, meaning like the rite of passage of life is like one that this generation, and this is not about jobs in general though, they want to fast forward, right? They want to skip. But when you really lock in to like those steps, they really build the foundation for you. And I think that, when I worked under a lot of great people, you learn a lot. And you're following what they do, and then you get to a point where you realize that, like, you all of a sudden have, like, a culinary voice inside of you. You're like, I've eaten this a million times, but I would change it and make it this way. Or you see these two ingredients, and you're like, I think that I would like to make it. And then you start to really experiment, and I think that...
but not everybody has that.
Yes, but
you have that. Chefs do. But what I find most fascinating, look, there's chefs and like anyone can put together food. If we think about it, food's not that difficult to put together. But the flavor that you put together, a flavor, to describe it minimizes it right now, that really you must experience to understand. I can sit here all day long and talk about the flavor of Ayesha's food is X, Y, and Z. Until you've experienced it, I can't describe it enough. It's like, really, and I have this conversation with a lot of people. And, like when I did Eating with Experts, they're like, where's your favorite place to go? I don't bullshit. I'm like, Chouquette is like, that's where I go, and they asked me then, what do you order? And I said, well, I don't really know because
I don't know what I.
Aisha's always ordering for me. But no, I mean, I just love you, and you're such an incredible person. So let's talk about, really we're like this new generation of restaurateurs. I grew up in the industry. You had a father and mother who cooked, and a father was professional. I grew up in the restaurant industry. When did you discover that you had the fucking balls to open up your own restaurant? Because that is a leap of faith.
I think that it was kind of like the hunger inside of me. I think that I worked for a lot of great people, and it was always nice to be kind of like number one and number two.
Yeah.
And then you realize that like the only way to stand out in this world is to make your own waves. And, I started at a restaurant called 100 Acres, which I met my business partners, and we changed it obviously to Shuka. And I think that like, that's really when, my culinary voice was always talking to me. But when I switched from like really doing Italian to like more Mediterranean into the Middle Eastern realm, like that was a complete 180 if you think about it.
What made you do that?
I just going back to, talking about my grandmother, who was the matriarch of a family. She lived in downtown.
What was her name?
Josephine Spagnuolo.
Hey, Josephine.
She's the best, grandma.
Call in the answers.
Josephine was a fierce woman. I mean, her children, my aunt and uncle, and obviously mother, like say that I get a lot of my fire from her, and I see that. But for me, she was the most loving person, ballsy and gutsy and loving. And when she lived in Cobble Hill before it was what it what it is now, in a brownstone, and when she came here from Italy, like all of the people kind of from her town lived on the same block. So like going back to the neighbors and cousins and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
She would walk to Atlantic Avenue, that was like totally Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
Walk into stores like Damascus and Sahadi's, and she would we would get these little treats, whether it was like little date cookies or pita bread, or she would taste hummus or feta. And she wouldn't like buy enough to come home, but it would be enough for her and I to have like a snack as we were walking. Yeah. And I think that she really introduced me to those flavors. Now, I can't deny that Indonesian cuisine uses a lot of spices as well. And I think I was introduced to that obviously from my dad. But there was something about when I was cooking Italian food, like I never wanted to go out and eat Italian food. I wanted to eat something different. And, Anthony Bourdain says that inside every chef is a small Asian person, right? We love noodles and like all of that. But I think my guy just had a fez hat on, and I just always loved that food. And it's the convivial style of me eating. It's like all of those, what I call the rip and dip, right?
Yeah, rip and dip.
Pickles, these smooth, creamy dips, some that are chunky, some have these hot breads that are studded with garlic or stuffed or just like puffy with like hot air in the inside. And all of that just like got me excited. And I wanted to really try to see if I could force the hand.
Let me tell you, I'm looking at Suzanne and she's going like, I'm so hungry. I could see her. She's like, her mouth is watering as she's sipping on her glass of wine in a sable coat.
Oh my God.
Right now.
She has a glass of wine. I mean, you have
to listen, like, hey guys, Suzanne, Fran, like, can you let our guests know like they can drink and smoke on the show if they want? Like, we don't have to be so buttoned down. Like, she's like, you need a glass of wine with us, but we'll do a virtual one. But so you got that puffed down. What is it? I dip, you dip, we dip.
Yes.
That's it. Right? That's her slogan, Suzanne. I dip, you dip, we dip. And then, I go into Ayesha, she was a girl I never knew, with the hoop in there, right? Because you got your classic hoops.
You better lay low.
You better lay low. But
that's the remix.
That's the remix. We're gonna go in the studio and do that remix. The You Better Lay Low remix. But your earrings tonight don't have your name in the middle.
These don't, but I have them.
No,
upstairs.
I know you have them, but I'm like, we got to represent the Aisha. But all right, look.
You got to see my new ones. They say rip and dip in the middle.
No, they don't.
They do. They do. I'll tell you, you can put them on at the end of it.
Yep, we will. But so look, new generation of restaurateurs. Like, I want to go in that direction real quick. We got some time to talk and chill. But what does it mean to you today? Because you said, like, now there's hundreds of restaurateurs, and there's so many, and they become what, quote unquote, celebrity chef. Delmonico's 1940s, 1950s, there was no celebrity chef. However, 1800s, can you believe this? So when we go back to 1800s, you had Chef Ranhofer, celebrity chef. Chef Filippini, celebrity chef. In the 1800s, they had cookbooks, right? And then you go to Hotel Chef Foucher, who had the Hotel Foucher in Milford, Pennsylvania, which is a great place to go to, by the way. But, these chefs, 1800s, it was like celebrity chefs. Then you fast forward, obviously Prohibition killed the industry majorly, right?
Major.
And then when you get into like the 1930s, 40s, 50s, there weren't celebrity chefs. That didn't happen really until until again, the 1970s, late 70s, 80s,
I would say,
90s, it was a huge thing. But today we have restaurateurs like literally everywhere. And then there's so much money behind them. And then there's like networks that pick them up. What does it mean to be a restaurateur in your definition?
I think my definition is to have a clear vision that equals a brand that you don't waver from. Meaning like this, a lot of people that know me, right, know the restaurants, you can, if there was a glass in there that was kind of like etched and I don't know, like had frilly lace, you would be like, this doesn't fit in here. Like your vision and your brand have to be that strong. Now, what all of that vision and that brand is comprised of a lot of different things, right? Because obviously there's a cuisine attached to it. There's a type of hospitality that you want to give. There's a vibe and a warmth that you want your guests to feel. But I really think at the end of the day, when you distill all those fancy words, it's about being authentic.
Authentic, period.
Period.
Yeah.
I think
You know,
real restaurateurs and the ones that are making waves or that are going to be here for the next few generations are the ones that are doing it their way. And it could be like small things. It doesn't have like,
Yeah.
when I say authentic, it doesn't mean that you have to, make a
You could have a
cuisine.
food truck that's authentic.
Yeah, exactly. But people, people can feel that. There's a lot of intangibles at a restaurant that people don't think about that you feel. Like when you walk in the door at Chouquette, you're like, wow, there's a party going on in here. And then
Always.
when you leave, you're like, that was my party. You know what I'm saying? You didn't walk into someone else's. That was your party waiting for you. Like that's a crazy thing. I don't know how you bottle that. Like it's not a.
You don't.
You don't. Right.
This is what happens. I think when we do the work, because you do the work, I mean, we roll up the sleeves and do the work. I mean, you've seen it in me too, so I don't need to, brag about it. That's just what we do.
Yeah.
When we do the work, I think everything that is rises up to meet us. It's ancestors, it's food, it's the spices, it's those trades that happened where all of that energy is like celebrating that you're acknowledging it, right? It's hard to describe, but it's like, when you say there's that energy of celebration, it's because you celebrate not only the cuisine, you celebrate the guest, you celebrate your team, you celebrate your employees, you celebrate yourself.
Yes.
And I think that is the most important thing. Like you love yourself. I can see that you love yourself, because you can taste that love in the food, but you could feel that love, like you're saying, in Shuka and Chouquette. So, there's so many ups and downs and bests and worsts of the industry. For me, I like to focus on the best of the best. So when there's these kids that are watching us right now and they're like, oh, I love Ayesha. I've seen her on Chop from 16 years ago. Or I saw her, on Beat Bobby Flay or Titans or this or that. I want to be Ayesha. What do you tell them?
I tell them that what you see, you're looking at a sum of all its parts.
Yeah.
You're like, this doesn't happen overnight. You talked about Chop 16 years ago. Like I was on the first, I think that was the second season,
Yeah.
where I lost and it kind of like gutted me to the fact that I never wanted to do competition television again. I would say like, keep your eye on whatever your North Star is, right? I always, like when I closed my eyes when I was in my 20s and I was like, just just learning in the industry, arms full of burns, 16-hour days. What I pictured at the end of it was myself in a fur coat with Gucci sunglasses, smoking a cigar at the end of my oak bar. And I have always had that vision in my head. Now, do I have the oak bar? No, but I have a cement one. Can I smoke in the restaurant? No, but I'll smoke out the back. But my point is like, I saw greatness in myself, And although I've had many people kind of open doors for me in some ways, I worked hard to get there.
And you still do.
Like
You
Stu
still
says,
do.
like I thank me. Like you have to get to a point, like, yes, it's nice to throw flowers at people and acknowledge those that have helped you. But it's also like no one else worked those shifts but me.
That's right.
No one didn't miss the birthdays, she birthday, he birthday, no, like, but me. No one was like learning the station next to me while I was cooking this one so that I could, if anything ever happened to that guy, help him on the line or like have that knowledge, whether I didn't know that my chef was going to show me or not. So I just feel like, I think you say this all the time, like hard work never goes unseen.
Never. Never. Because there's that validation of I see you, I hear you, you matter. And that's what you do with your team. So how do you create a team like you've created? What's your advice on those who want to get into this industry, who are doing it, who are exactly saying, I missed my mother's birthday, I missed this, I missed that, but I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. I'm going to roll up my sleeves, I'm going to do the work. But to create a team like you created, what's the wisdom you give us?
My wisdom is to watch the movie 300 by Gerard Butler. And when he's at that point where
we watch it for different reasons. Or maybe the same.
But there's that part where he's 300 Spartans, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Versus worlds of people, right? God kings or whatever. And the guy says to him, like, you have to kneel down right now. And he's like looking at his back and he's like, looking around. And, if you watch the movie or you think about the Spartans or your Greek mythology or history or whatever, you know that they were fighting for their country in a way that they were ready to die at each battle. They were ready to go in at each battle to die, right?
Yeah.
And the guy says, well, if you kneel to me, we'll give you the riches, your people will live or whatever. And he goes like almost to kneel as a joke. And he says to him, I have a cramp in my leg. But the point here is that his 300... even if he knew he was going to die, he would go through every battle with these men because they had that bond that they were ready to die for their country and what they believed in. And that's how I run my kitchen. And I tell my guys on the line, it's me and you guys. Me and you. And it's been
you created, your team is so signature you. Like you could like if you're out doing like a festival, you and I could dip out, we could dip and rib it. And that team would be so tight and so on point that they would think you were there. That's how incredible your team is. No, I witness it. And the love that you have for your team. There's a lot of restaurateurs, they walk in, they walk out. It's like, I'm the restaurateur, I'm the celebrity chef. You always acknowledge your team, and I love that.
It wasn't them. And to not acknowledge that is like really silly. It's like, I'm able to do the festivals or dip out and have dinner with you or, do the great things. But when it matters, like I'm standing next to them. And I know it's silly, but like we use WhatsApp to communicate with the teams.
WhatsApp, me too.
I send them a note, and I'm like, I'm so grateful to be your chef.
Yeah,
like you guys are awesome. It's kind of the blue. It's not like on a holiday or anything like that.
No, right.
It's truly how I feel, and like you say, like people want to feel seen,
validated,
they, feel they matter, and validated, and to be quite frank, like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them because everybody thinks like it's me cooking on the line for 300 people. It's not.
It's that whole team.
I opened a restaurant to show you that it's
Listen, the vulnerability that you have and not only the vulnerability, but the understanding and the grace that you have to have an open kitchen is so like you get a lot of props for an open kitchen because you're giving your all and you're showing people like, I gave my best, and your best is really the best. But listen, I got a note here because I'm getting a lot of, I saw you on Bobby Flay with Ayesha. I'm like, And for the record, we did not know this was legit. I had no idea Ayesha was the chef. I was with Melba because I learned after the fact that, did you know this? That Isaac had been watching Melba and me. I don't know if you know this story, but I got the scoop after. Was watching Melba and me have dinner at your restaurant on my Instagram. And they were like, Isaac was presenting this. He was like, Max and Melba are going to be perfect for this.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, they were conspiring, right? Yeah. So while they were conspiring, Melba and I roll up there, like, Melba with her caftans, and I had my big diamond brooch on. They're like, it's the holiday edition. That's all we knew. And then we get there, and we knew nothing about the show. And then when we're getting closer and it's getting closer and we're doing the taste testing and we're like getting ready and we're using our words to describe the food. And then when that door opened, and now obviously we know that you've beat all 3 rounds, like all 2 rounds at this point, right? My heart, I don't know if I wanted to laugh, cry. I was like, that's my girl. Like, that's
Oh my
my
God.
Ayesha.
It
And
was
then,
so, I was so surprised to see, and equally surprised that I won
yeah,
round one, two, and forget three. But when I saw you, like, it wasn't even at that moment, like, it wasn't even about like winning. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, listen, I've judged that show before,
I know.
and there is no way on God's green earth that even if you think
That's
you
right.
have
You
no
don't
idea.
know.
You have
You
no
don't
idea.
know.
You could be
Yeah.
like, this tastes like my mother's lasagna, and you open the door, and it's like
And
some
it's
old
Trader
man.
Joe's.
Exactly. There is no way that you could ever know. And the show is full of integrity and honesty.
Yeah.
So, like the
Period.
fact that you were there to witness what a momentous like memory and in my life and milestone
Oh,
was crazy. It was really nuts. And I
let me
feel
tell you.
like you went back and you talked about, because I think it's important to know, like, you and I are like old souls, right?
Yeah.
And like, we don't make fast friends with people, and it's not about
No.
trust. It's just like, you have your crew, yeah, and
Yeah.
I have mine, and it's like, you meet people, especially in this industry, you have 1,000 acquaintances, but when
Yeah.
it comes down to like, we just met with two people that genuinely like fell in love with each
Tell them
other.
how we met. Tell them how we met.
Yeah, New York Food and Wine, man. New York
Yeah.
Food and Wine. It was last year. It was a party. You were with Melba, and I actually walked in by myself, and Antonio LaFaso was there, and you guys had rang the bell in the morning.
Yep.
Remember?
For the, oh,
And
yeah, for, yeah.
right, and
Delmonico's.
Antonio was like, "Do you guys know each other?" And I was like, "No." We said hello. It was like brief,
Yeah.
and and then we did the dinner at your restaurant.
But then I
And
gave you, where we really bonded was when I was giving you the history of Delmonico's, that the first ladies luncheon happened there.
that's what I'm saying. We go to your
Yeah.
restaurant, we do the dinner, and you said, "Let me give you a tour,"
Yeah.
and you took us
And
really
you're like,
like.
who the fuck is this kid?
No, no, no. No, because you know what? At that moment, it was also, that's hospitality. So
Yeah.
people don't realize that, because people think that you only have to be hospitable to your guests, right? And we were like, I
No.
guess in some way I was a guest chef, but like
Yeah.
my nephew's had his a communion, of his confirmation at Delmonico. My family,
Yeah.
we go to Christmas Eve at Delmonico.
Yeah.
So like, even though like you treat me like I've never been there every single time in the best way
Oh,
possible, and also that I also live there simultaneously,
right.
and you took us through this tour, and you hadn't known that like I love deep history like that.
Right.
And the way that you were talking about it, it was just like, you can see from like the blushing of your cheeks and the way that the words rolled off your tongue, like you were speaking from the soul. This wasn't
Yeah.
like a memory thing where you were like memorizing the cards. You were like in this very room. And then when you told us like it was the first place to have running water, it's older than the
Yeah.
bridge, right? And then that this was the first place that women could eat unaccompanied by a man. I
Yeah.
mean, that is such a wild notion. You know, history is the funny thing, because as you move on, you kind of forget pieces.
Yeah.
And to me, like, women have always had their rights. But when you look back in history, it's not that long ago that we had none.
Yeah.
So to be in such a place that was full of this energy, positivity, and like revolutionary in its own way.
Revolutionary.
Like, and to be able to cook there, it was like really.
No, it was, listen, my concept of life is always moving forward while looking back, and that really became the structure of where I am as a restaurateur and remembering the ancestors. But I want to know, the Bobby Flay show was great. If you all missed it, go right now, find it and watch
HBO
the
Max.
holiday
HBO
HBO Max. Find the episode that we were on. That was, no, in fairness, that was the second time I judged, but the first time it aired. I don't know when my next episode is. I've only judged twice.
Yeah.
On Beat Bobby Flay. But how did you meet Bobby?
I met Bobby, well, years ago, at Shuka, actually.
Oh,
He
okay.
came to the restaurant, and I went and said hello to him. And then, like, through the years, like, we kind of, like, not that we became close, but we knew each other. But
Yeah.
he lived not too far from Shuka. And that's really, I think, how it started. And then I got called. I've judged Beat Bobby Flay, I think, about 13 or 14 times. And I hosted one show, and obviously now that I'm a Titan.
Oh,
But, like,
look.
my
Look. A Titan. You went from being chopped to a Titan.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But yeah, he's an amazing dude. He's
Yeah.
just good.
And our episode was a lot of fun. I
So
mean,
much.
it was the holiday episode, so it doesn't get better than that.
It
And then
doesn't.
Carson
The
Kressley
holiday
was the
show-
host.
Yeah, I know, right? And the holiday show really is lighthearted. And even though, like, being a competitive nature person, like, you want to win, but you're also there, you're like ranking on each other from across the room. But
Yeah.
like, I went on that show saying to myself, like, Ayesha, win or lose, you're just here to have a good time. I never
Yeah.
thought that I was gonna make it to the third round to even go against Bobby, let alone beat him. Like it wasn't something like talk about me having what do you call that? Like visualizing these things.
Right.
Like, I just
Manifestation.
wanted the show to go on. Exactly. I wasn't
Yeah.
manifesting that. I was like, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen.
That was already predestined, though.
Yeah.
Like, your life is so big. That's why I'm so excited for you. Because I remember I called you after. I'm like, this is just the beginning of the greatness of who you are. Because really, it's like the mark that you're going to leave. I mean, we're talking about Delmonico's 200 years later. We're going to be talking about you 200 years later. That's the mark, really, that you're making, not only in this industry, but for the youth and for the way you encourage people and for the way that you prepare food and for the love that you have for your guests. So listen, what are we going to talk about? We got so much to talk about. I want to know what you're doing next.
Wow. Next.
You're doing
I
Aspen is coming up.
Right. You say
But
my
like-
earrings say Aisha, but they really should say hustler on them. I am constantly moving and grooving. What's coming next? I have a book coming out. I think
That
in
I
the
know.
fall, hopefully in the fall, which I'm really excited about. We have I have a new season of Titans that we're going to
Yep.
start to go to production with. I don't know. I feel very hopeful about like where I am in the restaurant business right now. I still have like 3 or 4 projects in here that I want to manifest. Are they going to be like full blown restaurants? I'm not really sure.
Pace it.
Yeah, and I think I'm happy that when you're in the restaurants, and I know that you do this too. Like we always have a smile on our face because we're genuine, but we also see all these improvements that we want to make. So I know. And like sometimes it's music, sometimes it's lighting, sometimes it's the carrots, sometimes it's the toilet paper you use. Like people don't realize like restaurateur problems run the gamut. It's not about the person at the front door. It runs deep.
Yeah, no, it runs deep. It runs deep. My question to you is, would you ever open a restaurant called Josephine's for your grandmother?
I think about it all the time. I think about it like kind of as a Rayo's concept, not like that you can't get in, but it's kind of like old school.
Which is Chouquette anyway.
Right, exactly. No, but like old school, like Italian, kind of like a place that you want to, there's no menu. It's like somebody's
It's going to be in Brooklyn or New York?
I don't know. If it's in
All
Brooklyn,
right,
I'll never go to my other restaurant. So I think
No, you will. I think it needs to be in a brownstone in Brooklyn.
It could be.
Yeah, we're going to, all right. If that's I can't dream for you, but,
No,
or
I
a
know.
brownstone in New York. Look, Delmonico's at the end of the day is a brownstone.
I know.
All right, we
wouldn't
got to get into our
before.
Labubu story real quick.
Me too.
So these are like fububus. Let's just be real. Like, we can't fake this shit. So we go to dinner one night, right? Tell the story of how we went to, you called me to go to dinner.
Right. So I call Max and I'm like, let's go to dinner. Was with a bunch of chef friends. He goes, okay, we have dinner. And then, we had a great time and we're leaving there. And sometimes, you leave. We didn't really want to go out somewhere else, but we didn't want the night to end. Is that fair?
Right. Yeah.
So we like walking past kind of like a shopping fair.
It was like, a street festival fair.
Street festival fair. And there was like a bunch of things, like funny things, like a lot of New York memorabilia kind of things.
Kitschy.
Tourist, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we passed by this hard-ass Asian woman. that
Love
had a
her.
bunch of boo-boos there.
Faux
And-
boo-boos. Her faux boo-boos.
Yes, I'm sorry. Faux boo-boos and faux Gucci outfits, as you can see.
Yep.
And yours is Dior, right?
No, mine is Gucci
Yours
too.
is Gucci too? Yours is Gucci too.
Danielle got Louis.
Oh, did she? Yours
Yeah.
has gangster pants on. His little butt is hanging out. Look at that.
Ow. Boom. He's a big old bottom.
He's a thirsty boo.
Thirsty.
And
He's a thirsty
the
little
woman,
boo-boo.
we tried to do a hard negotiation with this woman.
That was a hustle.
And I was like, Max, leave it. Because honestly, like, what are we going to do with these things, right? And I was like, just leave it. And he was like, you know what? Life is so short. Who cares about how much this is? These are going to be part of our memory. And every time we're going to look at this, we're going to remember how we felt in that moment. And I was like, it's like you drop these nuggets on me at times where like, all I said was like, come on, let's go. And then all of a sudden you say something like that and it makes you really put things in perspective. It's like, live in the moment. If you want something, get it. It'll never, and you said like, this moment is never going to happen again. We're going to have grander moments, right? Hopefully not less moments, but grander moments. But in this moment right now, like this means everything. So this Labubu is a reminder to Carpe Diem.
That's right.
Seize the moment and get yourself a good friend like Max Tucci.
A faux boo-boo. Get a faux boo-boo. Listen, I'm traveling. This faux boo-boo has like miles now. He's going to have his own freaking flyer card because I take him everywhere. And I have to tell you that, when I look at him, I remember that night. You know, it was a little bit chilly in the air. And we
Yep.
were like, look at these magnets. Let's do this. Let's do that. Where should we go? Should we go to Delmonico's and get dessert? And then we walked by and that bitch was hardcore on us. She's like, no, we're like this much. She said, no. I'm like, what? And you were just like, fuck this. Let's go.
Yeah.
and
You
and let
wouldn't
me
budge
tell
a
you,
dollar.
the smiles that I get from this, they don't only just remind me of that night, they remind me of our friendship.
It
So
does.
for all of you who are watching, like, this is the shit we got to create, the good fun times. So we got to play a game real quick.
All right.
We're going to play Forget, Feed, and Frolic, okay? So
Okay.
moving into the new year, what is something you want to forget?
Negative people that I've been wasting my
Oh,
time on.
I
Peace.
agree. Hey, peace.
Yes.
Who do you want to feed?
Oh, I would actually. I don't know why on my Instagram it's coming up with like people who are like just giving money to like random people, but it's not about that. I would love to get more involved in like feeding people that are in need.
Okay, can I tell you who we need to bring to your restaurant?
Tell me.
Adele.
I mean, that's on my bucket list. I
Adele,
say it all the time.
I know you're going to see this because Suzanne's going to send it to you. Okay, Suzanne, take a side note. You have to go to Chouquette. Chouquette, right? We want to go to Chouquette or
Of course.
Chouka, whichever. But go to Chouquette. Go to Chouquette. Please, I plea for you to go to Chouquette and love on Aisha so hardcore because, girl, the meal you're going to get there is going to be like, hello from the other side.
And Adele, if you're watching, like your music has meant so much to me, and I have a story to tell you about how I became a Titan and how your music is tied to that. So I'm going to leave you in suspense until you come to the restaurant. How about
Thank
that?
you. I love that. And now who are you going to frolic with?
Whoa!
Hey!
I don't know. That's a hard
Yes,
one.
you do.
Who?
Yes, you
Tell
do.
me.
I don't know. You tell me.
Oh,
300.
no, I'm thinking. I don't know.
300.
Listen, if he's tall, yeah, exactly. If he's tall, dark, and handsome, and he's looking for a little fun and a little bun, then you let me know. I don't know. I think in this new year, like, you know, you have to be, your heart has to be open to be meeting good people. So, but I'll
Yep.
frolic any day or night.
You know what I'm talking about? Look, I wake up every morning, I close my eyes and then open them and I say, I open myself up to offers, options, and opportunities for the highest good of my life, and I'm willing to do the work. Right?
So good. So
Oh
true.
my God. We got to get that whole 300 squad at Chouquette to frolic. You're gonna call the office and be like, you better lay low. I'm
better lay low.
I'm taking 300 days off.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. Listen, you know, I had an idea for a show. That was the old Barbara Walters quote, but she really stole that idea from Virginia Graham. But that's a whole nother story. But you know, initially, you know, we spoke, and I'm just gonna throw this out there because I believe in it. And we're still gonna do it. This show called Manja Business. And in the meantime, you know, we got to get things together. And so I just, you know, we were putting this together. And now, like, when I talk to you after the show, wait till you hear about, like, the development of Manja Business, the direction it's going, because you're going to be a part of it. I have other people who are going to be a part of it. We're putting it all together. But, you know, welcome to my table. This is my space, right? So I need this for me. I need this for you. I need this for all of you. But Manja Business,
It's a whole nother
you
ballgame.
better lay low. Right? I love you so much. I admire you. I bow to you. We are fucking IACP Trailblazer Award winners for a
Kidding. And
reason.
guys, listen, I'm promoting it. If you don't have this
Oh.
book, you see this, the Trailblazer Award. But
Thank
listen,
you.
this book is all about the cooking, but there's so many good nuggets in the thing. Like I think your father said something like, if you want to get her, you have to give her the jewels of the sea. Like there's just so many
And a
nuggets.
Negroni.
Yeah, and a Negroni, and how your mom loved to serve. What was it? The steak tartare, always with toast points. And this book is just like it's just an easy. Like I look at cookbooks as books, so I read them like books.
You
But
have
if
so
don't
many of
have
them.
this, you need to get this because it will teach you how to be a better host to your guests.
Thank you. Wait, you know what? I'm going to design a cocktail. You know, I have the cocktail book coming out.
Yes.
Did I tell you this? And we finally got everything signed away. We're going to do, I think, 56 cocktails celebrating 200 years. Okay.
Wow.
So I'm going to tell Rizzoli, Suzanne, take a side note. I'm going to make a cocktail with you. It's going to
Okay.
be called the Ayesha.
Oh my
And
God.
yep. And I want you to come up with it. And I'm
Okay.
putting it in my book.
All right, done.
Because the only way I can move forward is by looking back. But when I do move forward, I want to bring people with me that I love. So we're moving forward together. You're going to have a cocktail in my book called Ayesha. I love you so much. We got to wrap this up. What do you want people to know before we go? Just give them some inspiration.
I think follow your heart and always be authentic, because I think that when people think about me, that's what they think. Sometimes what's on the lung is on the tongue, and you have to be okay with it. But I'd rather that than be some kind of phony person in the back. Surround yourself with good people, treat others as you want to be treated, and life is good. And sometimes, yes, stuff happens to us that's not positive, but you have to see past that, because you have to be grateful in this world that we're able to get up every day. We have air in our lungs and we're able to move our bodies. And it's just like, I don't know, just gratitude goes a long way. Surround yourself with good people, and life is good. Sometimes I have to remind myself of that often.
I love it. It's true that really, no experience ever goes wasted, right? And so in those moments where we feel like all the shit just hit the fan, that's when we get to step back and reevaluate where we are in life, right? And I always say rejections and protection, so believe in that. And listen, what I'm going to tell you all is go get a faux boo-boo. But in reality, here's the thing. Welcome all to the table like my grandfather did. I welcome you to my table. And here's the beauty about welcoming people to your table. You never know the conversation you're going to have. I love you so much, Ayesha. I bow to you. I respect you. And you know what? Seriously, thank you for giving me that opportunity in Brooklyn, the dinner that we had.
Yes.
I don't know if I really want you to know I appreciate that. And every opportunity that you bring to me, I love you for it. I do. I appreciate you.
And guys, if you want to hear more and see of me, you can follow me on Instagram or on my YouTube channel at Ayesha_rare. If you want to see me on the Titans, watch it on HBO Max. But I love to cook and spread love along the way.
And if you want to say Ayesha in person, how long is it? You're like 10 months out for a reservation at Chouquette.
You come visit us.
This is what Ayesha was telling me. I said, Ayesha, how do we get the reservation at Chouquette? And you said, email Max.
You come to Chouquette, and me and Max will be there. He'll be sitting at the counter, and I'll be feeding him. And Adele might be there. Who knows?
She'll be there. Suzanne's going to make that happen. All right. Okay. Love you so much. You know what? I know we got to lay low.
Look to all of this. And I know that people need to subscribe to this podcast because it's more than that.
Thank you. Love you. Good night.
Love you.